You will own nothing and you will be happy. The Great Reset and the Davos Agenda are not conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are guised in mystery and shadow. No one knows if they are partially true, wholly true, or absolute fabrications. They are parroted by fringe groups on the outskirts of society, who don't quite fit in. People who have no credibility, who don't cite their sources, and who have no interest in believing the mainstream narrative. It's a convenient attack then, to claim that anyone talking about the Great Reset is a conspiracy theorist, and that's something you've no doubt experienced. Lump them in with those who believe in lizard people and flat earth, and their arguments seem absurd. It's the perfect strawman. But the truth is that the Great Reset exists. It's so blindingly obvious that it exists because those behind it aren't even trying to hide it. Search for The Great Reset here on YouTube and the top results won't be people like me talking about it. It won't be your average Joe giving his 2 cents on the issue. It won't even be Russell Brand going off on the absurd nature of it all. No, if you search for The Great Reset here on YouTube, you will find video after video after video from the World Economic Forum, published by themselves, talking about and pushing the Great Reset and the Davos Agenda. So why then have we all been accused of being conspiracy theorists? Well, it's simple. They want to discredit any kind of criticism of the Great Reset. It's the oldest trick in the book. Don't try to prove the innocence of the man on trial, instead discredit the witness. Bring their memory into doubt, attack their character, remind everyone of their wrongdoings no matter how irrelevant they are. Plant the seed of doubt in the gullible. No, the truth is out. The Great Reset exists. It is supported by the richest of the rich, the most powerful people on earth, those who have never known any kind of struggle, those with super yachts and 5 different mega mansions scattered around the world. Those who hide their wealth in offshore shell companies and call you selfish for complaining when the taxman bangs on your door. And yet here we are, revealing the truth anyway, exposing what is happening right now at this very moment. And put very simply, that's what I'm here to do today, to tell the truth. So if the Great Reset is planned by the World Economic Forum, then who are they and what is the Davos Agenda? Well, the WEF is led by this man, Professor Klaus Schwab. He's an economist and philanthropist from Germany who started off his career lecturing at universities and working on the boards of some very large companies. That's where he supposedly made his money, but there's an awful lot of doubt there. In 1971, Schwab founded the European Management Forum, which went on to become the World Economic Forum, a not-for-profit organization committed to improving the state of the world. The very same year, he published Modern Enterprise Management in Mechanical Engineering, a book that sounds innocent enough, but in that book, he went on to argue that the management of a modern enterprise must not serve shareholders, but stakeholders. And that's where the idea behind stakeholder capitalism started. One of the ways in which Schwab is trying to improve the world. The basic idea is that companies should serve the interests of those they affect, work with, and made up of, which again sounds innocent, but the reality is far more sinister. Now I'm going to ask you to remember this term, stakeholder capitalism, because it will come back up later. The Transnational Institute, a not-for-profit that hasn't been accused of being a sink fund to channel money into the pocket of the ultra-rich like the World Economic Forum has, claimed that the WEF and Schwab are aiming to replace a recognized democratic model with a model where a self-selected group of stakeholders make decisions on behalf of the people. And who do we suppose will be those self-selected stakeholders? Well, call me cynical, but I don't think they plan for it to be me or you, but them. The think tank summarizes that we are increasingly entering a world where gatherings such as Davos are a silent coup d'etat to capture governance. When you start to look at what the World Economic Forum is, it's no surprise that there are a lot of people who are very afraid. And the sad truth is, this isn't even the half of it. In 2010, Schwab and the WEF published a global redesign whereby they claimed the world would be better managed by a coalition of multinational corporations, governments, and select civil society organizations. Now, if you, like me, wonder if Schwab imagined himself as one of those decision makers, it becomes so easy to see why so many people think something sinister is at play here. But if that's the WEF, then what is Davos? Well, it's quite simple. Davos is a village in Switzerland, where once a year, the richest and most powerful people in the world descend to discuss our planet, its goings-on, and crucially, the World Economic Forum's plans. They've been doing this for 50 years now, and there are 3,000 people and organizations that attend and pay a hefty fee to the WEF for that privilege. How much, you ask? Oh, not much. Just $600,000 each and every year. Something that you and I and everyone else that we know will never be able to afford. And so it follows that the Davos Agenda is as self-explanatory as the name suggests. It's the agenda of the meeting. It's the initiatives that the WEF seek to push, such plans as the global redesign or the Great Reset. Now, I know that some of you will listen to this and you'll think I'm crazy. You'll say that I never struck you as a conspiracy theorist and that this is all below me, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is not a conspiracy theory. Everything I've stated is true. It is verifiable fact. No one denies it. The funniest thing about all this is that it's even verified by the World Economic Forum themselves, because again, they aren't even trying to hide all this. In fact, they want you to see it. The WEF has embarked on a huge advertising campaign, and it's trying to do this without us even realizing. The term that I mentioned earlier, stakeholder capitalism, well, they want you to know what it is, but they don't want you to know who invented it. And that brings me on to an example right here on YouTube from a guy called Johnny Harris. He's a journalist who hates journalists, a YouTuber who used to work for Vox but detested the politics so much, he went out on his own and now makes what are normally interesting yet innocent videos talking about history, business and everything else that happens in our world. That was until he published this video called How China Became So Powerful. Now, I'm going to be a little bit light on the details here because a YouTuber called Tom Nicholas has done a far better job at explaining what happened than I ever could. Link in the description. But in short, this video isn't about China and its content isn't as innocent as he wants it to seem. Throughout this video, Johnny Harris practically preaches the glorious nature of stakeholder capitalism, telling us that it's the solution to all our problems and that society will be saved if we just embrace it. The problem is that in this video, we aren't listening to Johnny Harris, but to the World Economic Forum themselves. You see, the script was co-written by Peter Van Ham, the head of communications for the World Economic Forum's chairman's office, and Johnny Harris was paid an undisclosed amount to publish this video. He tried to make out that he had stumbled across the term stakeholder capitalism, that he had hardly any involvement with the WEF, and he also claimed that he wasn't paid by them. We now know that all of this was false. This video is literally propaganda. The World Economic Forum paid off a creator who is well known and well respected and used his reputation as a knowledgeable, fair and unbiased journalist to push their agenda. Unfortunately, this is the end of verifiable truth, because while we know that all the world leaders attend Davos every year, while we know that Bill Gates, Tim Cook, George Bush, Mitt Romney and half a hundred of Jeffrey Epstein's other best friends turn up every year, we don't know what's said inside. And that's why we have to look elsewhere. We have to look at what's happening right now, what's right in front of our eyes. And so that brings us onto the world today. It's been a crazy year. A virus has spread across the world, sending billions of people into a state of panic. Millions more have been begging their governments to become more and more authoritarian and to restrict their rights further still. As someone who is a young person in the United Kingdom, it's been particularly odd for me. I'm surrounded by people who over the last 5 years have been screaming about the Conservatives, about how they lust for power and want to drag us into a dystopian society, characterised by social credit, facial recognition and a brutal militaristic regime keeping us all in check. But it has been those same people who have been crying out for ever stricter lockdowns, who have been demanding face masks be worn in every possible situation, no matter how isolated someone might be, and who have been livid when those who feel the need to speak out against what's happening have not been quickly and quietly suppressed. And so our government has done what governments do. They have increased their authority, they have increased their spending, they've forced people to stop working, they've forced others to remain in their homes, and still, almost 2 years on from the inception of this virus, there is a strong possibility that the lockdowns are not over. If you turn on the BBC, there's a decent chance that sat on a sofa with what is practically a megaphone to the millions of people watching, there is a scientist telling us that lockdowns are here to stay and that we need to learn to adapt to the new normal. And sadly, it isn't just in the UK that this has been happening. The exact same thing has been going on all around the world. It has been deemed illegal to protest in Australia, where a new location recording and facial recognition app has been announced to ensure people are doing as they're told. But the silent killer in all this, the really dangerous thing, has been the increased reliance on the state for billions of people. In the US, it was stimulus checks and unemployment. In the UK, it was furlough and universal credit. While I can't name each and every program present in every country around the world, I can guarantee that there is one there almost everywhere we look. People are being paid to stay at home. They are being paid to do nothing but rely on the state. It's become a sad indictment of the way we live that so many people are happy to have everything handed to them without even considering what it might mean for them in the long term. The next time someone argues for universal basic income, ask them if they realise the amount of power they are giving away. Ask them if they understand the consequences of putting everyone's paycheck under the mercy of a government whose only objective is to remain in power. It's no surprise that the most free and richest societies of all time have the lowest proportion of people collecting checks from the government. The simple truth is that if your livelihood depends on the state, then you are at their mercy. They can decide if you live or die, if you have a roof over your head or food in your belly, and so people feel coerced into doing what the state demands of them. Just last week, it was announced that the Scottish National Party, the ruling authority in Scotland, want to keep hold of the emergency powers that they were given during the pandemic. In Hungary, the government now rules by decree without any respect for the democratic process. In Israel, courts were shut down. In Bolivia, the army was sent in to deal with protesters. Was it not Winston Churchill who said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste"? Who could have seen this coming? Well, the truth is, everyone who's been paying attention. It is so blindingly obvious that this was going to happen, and yet we've let it happen anyway. It may have started in Scotland under what is practically a socialist regime, but I guarantee you it will not end there. Governments all over the world have had a taste of absolute authority over the last year, and they've decided that they like it. And that's where stakeholder capitalism and the World Economic Forum come back into the fray. If universal basic income forces millions of people to become dependent on the state for their livelihood, does it surprise you to hear that the WEF is one of its biggest supporters? If stakeholder capitalism is a replacement for the democratic system, does it surprise you to hear it that WEF is practically the inventor of the idea? Unfortunately, the simple truth is that I don't know if there is a worldwide conspiracy to replace our democracies with oligarchies. I don't know if governments are working in tandem to erode away people's rights. I don't know if the World Economic Forum has captured the wealthiest and most powerful in societies and has them working towards their ends. But I do know for a fact that governments all over the world are increasing their powers. I do know that the rich and powerful are meeting with each other behind closed doors. I do know that the World Economic Forum is creating and publishing propaganda to further their agenda. To those that are still unconvinced, fine. You don't have to agree with everything I've said. But don't be blind as governments erode away your rights and increase their authority over you. Don't be silent as those who speak out or ask questions are silenced. And don't be surprised when all of a sudden the world has changed without you ever realizing it. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe. If you want to help spread the word, then consider liking the video and leaving a comment. The truth is that when I make a video like this, my advertising revenue gets cut right down. So I really do appreciate all the support you guys give the channel, even if it's just leaving a like. If you want to help out further, there is a link down below in the description to BlockFi, where you can get up to $250 in free Bitcoin. If you hold any cryptocurrency, then you really should be getting paid interest for it, so make sure to check that out. There's also a link to my favorite brokerage called eToro, where you can trade stocks and shares, crypto commodities, foreign currencies and more, all for 0% commission, so make sure to check that out as well. Thanks for watching, until next time.